Hey, I'm Q RuPaul, and welcome to Lesson 28 in our series. Today we're going to continue to talk about how to translate the English verb to like into Spanish. In the last lesson, you should have learned how to translate sentences like the two on the board. I like the beach. Do you like the beach? Me gusta la playa. ¿Te gusta la playa? Now, if you had trouble with either one of those sentences, you really need to go back and watch Lesson 27 again before moving on with this one. The goal of this course is that you become conversational. And in order to do that, you have to understand why you're saying certain things so you can change the sentences, make your own sentences. So everything I teach you are actually building blocks to plug into what you've already learned. Take a look at the board. I like your car. Do you like my car? Now, the only two things that are different about these sentences is that I worked in the possessives that we covered back in Lesson 17. Me gusta tu carro. ¿Te gusta mi carro? This is definitely one that'll get you doing your rolling R's. It wasn't that difficult, right? Well, now today we're going to start to build on what we learned in the last lesson, and of course it's going to work in everything else. We're going to talk about third parties. Ready? Take a look at this sentence. Juan likes your car. Now, the your car part shouldn't be a problem because we literally just covered it seconds ago. But how would we translate this sentence into Spanish? As I mentioned in the last lesson, there's no verb in Spanish that's exactly like our English verb to like. So that means that we're going to have to change the way we think of the sentence. Now, what we're literally translating is, to Juan, your car is pleasing. Well, we already know that we're going to be using gusta because it's describing the car. That's the subject of the sentence. Until now, we've only been using me and te. Those are our indirect object pronouns. We're going to have to use one for the third person singular, meaning Juan. Now, we only just started talking about the indirect object pronouns in the last lesson, so I don't expect you to remember them. If you do, that's pretty impressive. So here they are again. You see we're going to be using le. We plug in the word le, and we get le gusta tu carro, which is a grammatically correct sentence. The only problem is it doesn't directly mention Juan. What if I want to make it very specific? I'm talking about Juan. Where do I put his name? This is super easy. We're going to plug it in right at the front of the sentence, but you're going to have to use the letter a because we're literally saying to Juan. Now do you understand why I had you start to think differently and make really awkward English sentences in your head? It's so you'll always remember how to do this correctly. Take a look at that sentence. The word le is still in there. We didn't replace it with a Juan. So even if you're going to specify who you're talking about, you always have to leave the indirect object pronoun. That's the le or les. Let's try another one. How about Linda likes dogs? We have two options. If we want to specify that we're talking about Linda, meaning including her name in the sentence, we get a Linda le gustan los perros. Remember, it's gustan because perros is plural. Or, if we already know we're talking about Linda, we could just say, le gustan los perros. All right, let's start working some verbs in, meaning, how would you say things like, I like to go to the beach, or I like to walk, or I like to swim? Fortunately for you and me, this is super easy. It's much easier than talking about nouns. There's two reasons. One, we're always going to use gusta, the singular. Doesn't matter how many verbs we're talking about. Two, we're always going to use the infinitive of the verbs, so we don't even have to conjugate them. We just plug them in. Here's an example. I like to eat. Me gusta comer. Comer means to eat. I didn't change the verb at all. I just stuck it into the phrase. It doesn't matter how many verbs I plug in. I'm always going to use gusta, and they're always going to be the infinitive. I like to travel, dance, and sing. Me gusta viajar, bailar, y cantar. If you want to ask someone, what do you like to do? You just ask, ¿Qué te gusta hacer? Remember that the H is silent in Spanish. If you want to ask what someone else likes to do, like a third party, you just ask, ¿Qué le gusta hacer a? And then the subject, whoever you're talking about, the name, the dog, whatever. Here's an example. ¿Qué le gusta hacer a Linda? If we want to say that Linda likes to dance, we could say it as, a Linda le gusta bailar. Or, since we're already talking about Linda, her name appeared in the question, just respond with, le gusta bailar. So what if we're talking about a group? For example, we want to ask, what do they like to do? We're going to make a small change to our sentence and change the indirect object pronoun that we use to les. ¿Qué les gusta hacer a ellos? By now, you should be able to translate the sentence on the screen. They like to dance. A ellos les gusta bailar. Or les gusta bailar. Well, that's it for the lesson, but we're not quite done with the topic yet. There is going to be a part 3. Until then, go ahead and try to create your own sentences talking about what you like and what you like to do. Hasta luego.